If you believe you have any information pertaining to this case, you are urged to call the Detroit Police Department on 313-596-2200. On the 10th of February 1987, the body of a young woman was discovered in a landfill on Harper Avenue in Detroit, Wayne County, Michigan. It quickly became apparent that she was a homicide victim. She had suffered multiple stab wounds, eventually dying from a slit throat 1 to 3 days before her discovery at the landfill. It was determined that she had also likely been sexually assaulted. She had given birth 2 to 12 months before she died and was still lactating. Authorities believe she was killed elsewhere and dumped in a trash bin before being brought to the landfill, though were unable to pinpoint exactly where she had been dumped. The victim was of Caucasian descent, and most likely between 15 and 28 years old at the time of her death. She was 5 feet 4 inches to 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighed around 114 pounds. Her NamUs page notes that she had a slender build and good muscle tone. Her hair was shoulder length and brown, and had been styled in layers, tapered with a long nape, and highlighted blonde with reddish tints. This elaborate styling and colouring had to have been professionally done within 2 weeks of her death. She had light brown or hazel eyes, good oral hygiene and 1 filling, type O negative blood, ears that had each been pierced once, fingernails that had been painted with a sparkly pink polish, and a well-healed scar from prior episiotomy. She was a secretor, which means that she secreted her blood type into her bodily fluids. This isn't particularly remarkable, as approximately 80% of Caucasian people are secretors. The only clothing she wore was a pair of black, well-worn bikini-style panties, and a pair of silver costume rings on her left hand. One a thin band with a small rope design in the middle on her index finger, and one larger than the other with a marquee-cut clear stone in the center, surrounded by several round clear stones across the sides on her ring finger. With no one coming forward to identify the victim or her murderer, she was buried in an unmarked grave in the United Memorial Garden Cemetery in Plymouth, Michigan. In 2014, her remains were exhumed in an attempt to gather DNA. Unfortunately, the sample collected was deemed insufficient for profiling. She was exhumed once more in 2019 in a second attempt to gather DNA. Luckily, the sample retrieved was deemed sufficient this time, and she is currently an active DNA Doe Project case. If you're unfamiliar with the DNA Doe Project, they are a non-profit organization who uploads samples of unidentified decedents' DNA to an online genealogy service named GEDmatch in an attempt to locate their relatives and uncover their identities. As of April 2020, they have succeeded in identifying 25 different Does. Harper Jane Doe's DNA has been entered into GEDmatch, and her closest match is an individual who shares 93.7 centimorgans of DNA with her. This person is most likely to be either a second cousin once removed, a half-second cousin, a first cousin thrice removed, or a half-first cousin twice removed to the Doe, assuming there's no endogamy in the family. I realise this may seem confusing if you're not into genealogy. I hope that the chart I'm showing on screen, courtesy of DNApainter.com, will be of some help. Basically, a person who is related to Harper Jane Doe has been located, and the highlighted segments are that person's like relation to Jane Doe, based on the amount of DNA they share. Sorry if that was convoluted, I've tried to simplify this the best I can. Given that the Doe's episiotomy scar was described as well-healed, it is almost certain that she was nursing an infant at the time of her death, as episiotomy wounds take around a month to heal at minimum. If not actively breastfeeding, the ducts will cease milk production within a few days, and she was still lactating. That begs the question, where is her child? Could she have recently put them up for adoption? Or perhaps the child's carer was her killer, and after her death, they told everyone who knew her that she'd run off and left them with the child? This is assuming the child is still alive, of course. I want to stress that I'm just theorizing here, and not accusing anyone of anything. Please don't take this as fact, as I'm not privy to any insider information. Law enforcement have never stated that they believe this was a domestic abuse scenario or anything like that, so it's entirely possible that this was a random attack, though, in my opinion at least, it does seem likely that her killer was known to her. I'm almost certain that there are people missing her. She evidently took good care of herself in life, having a professionally done hairstyle, painted nails, jewellery, good muscle tone which suggested she exercised regularly, etc. She was very recognisable. I do wonder about her child. They would be in their 30s today if they're still alive. Someone out there could be missing their mother, wondering what happened to her and why she seemingly left. Hopefully the DNA Doe Project can identify her soon. Multiple missing people have been ruled out as being this decedent. Of course, these rule-outs will be listed in the description, as always. Before I bring this video to an end, I would like to thank Heather Nikki for suggesting that I cover this case. Thank you for your continued support also. Again, if you believe you have any information that may aid in the identification of this decedent and or her killer, you are urged to call the Detroit Police Department on 313-596-2200. Thank you very much for giving Harper Jane Doe's case a moment of your day.